You are listening to the Retina UK Talking Travel Peer Support Group meeting recorded Thursday, the 24th of July 2025.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Talking Travel Local Peer Support Group. It's Thursday, the 24th of July. My name is Rachel Zimbler, for those that don't know me, and I am the joint facilitator of this group. I am living with Bardet-Biedl syndrome, which is an inherited retinal dystrophy, and I'll pass you over to the other facilitator.
Hello everyone, thank you all for coming on the call this evening. And I'm Richard Zimbler. I'm also the co-facilitator for the Talking Travel Local Group. And would just like to thank Emily for coming tonight and speaking about her sight loss journey and also her journey with traveling. So I'd now like to hand over to Emily Bartell, who will tell us all about herself. So thank you, Emily, and take it away.
All right. Thank you, Rachel and Richard. Thanks for having me. So my name is Emily Bartell, and I am from the United States, and I'm living with BBS1, which is the Bardet-Biedl syndrome. I was diagnosed in the early 1990s. And today I'm going to talk to you about my very first international trip as a visually impaired person. I have traveled extensively. I've lived long term, I've lived on 3 continents for extended periods of time. I was influenced by my grandmother, who is a world traveler, and my goal is to eventually one day out travel her, but we'll see what happens. But so I have traveled internationally a lot, as well as over the States. However, the difference was I was fully sighted. So I grew up in a small community. It was very conservative, and there was not, sorry, a very non-diverse area. And growing up in that sense, I realized that I wanted to understand different cultures and different backgrounds and just have that experience and just really experience it firsthand. So my trip started last year. I attended my first BBS conference in July of 2024 in the States. And we had about 4 or 5 different countries represented, including several people from the UK. And one of the people from the UK had traveled internationally by themselves. And that's kind of where I got the idea, because I thought I would never be able to travel internationally independently by myself. And I was like, well, if this guy can do it, then I could totally do this, right? So I spent months on planning. I did a lot of research, and so my trip included Scotland and England. And in England, there was a BBS conference happening in April, and I had learned about that, networked, and they were looking for speakers. And so they got me in touch, and I really wasn't sure in the beginning if this was all going to come together, because I started prepping for this in October and it was in April. So a lot of things could change by then, but just really networking and finding out information, a lot of research. So I'm going to talk about all the preparation that went into this. So I have a couple of friends that live in Scotland, and they were very helpful in setting up. We had set up several groups in WhatsApp. I don't know if people are familiar, but it's a very handy app. And I basically chose the things that I wanted to do when I was in both countries. And they were very, very helpful in helping me find links, as well as apps such as Just Eat to get groceries, the passenger assistance app, all types of things like that. It was very helpful. Also, I attended a Zoom meeting with the Seeing Eye, which is the school where I received my first dog guide, which will be retiring in the next few months. Because the plan was I was going to bring my dog guide with me. I, at this point in my life, I did not have a lot of cane training. I probably had maybe a year and some change on cane training. And so just in case, there's a lot that goes in to getting the international health certification, but talking with the vets, there was a lot of information gathering as well that was put into that. But just in case something were to go wrong, I had started using my cane a lot, and I also contacted my local agency, which is Services for the Blind. And so I set up a couple orientation and mobility lessons because I had the basics, but I was not very confident at all. And that's just because when I only trained about 6 months, and then I went and got my dog, and I always use my dog. But anyway, so after all that, I also had to apply, for a passport. I had had one in a long time, which was not accessible. And also I had to get help booking my flights because I'm flying with American Airlines. They're booking a flight with them. It's not accessible. Their app is also not accessible as well. And so there were a lot of things that had to be put in place before I left. And at the very end of it all, it's very tedious when it comes to the dog guide things. And I'm not going to get too much into that, but there's very specific times that you have to get things done in order. And the reason she did not come with me is because this was something, there's an organization called HARC with Heathrow. And basically they were asking for all of the information that I had given for the health certification. So that fell through, but it's a good thing I had did cane training just in case, always having backup plans. So anyway, so I flew on the 8th of April and I got there on the 9th in the morning. And I actually had someone from the BBS UK organization meet me at the airport and help me get to the King's Cross station because I was going to Scotland first. And so that went fairly well. And so my first night, and I woke up the next day, I stayed in Edinburgh, and I walked outside and I realized I really don't have as much useful sight as I thought I did. I wasn't very, very shocked, and I could have broken down and just, I don't know what to do, but instead I decided this was useful information because one of the main reasons for this trip was for me to figure out how I was going to prepare for the rest of my life because my vision has been declining for about the last 10 years. I've gone through a lot of transitions, and in my life, I'm always surrounded by sighted people, and it's really hard to know where you stand with yourself and what your limitations are. So I took it as that. So I did have to rely on a lot of guided assistance, with things, and which was okay. Then, after only being in the country for 2 days, some friends of mine, so my trip was basically to do Scotland and Edinburgh, and then I was supposed to go to York, Manchester, and Liverpool. And 2 days, basically, I got a call saying that I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be able to do this, this, and this. And so that basically left me 11 days before I had to get to the conference, which was in Northampton. And I was really upset because I am a female in a foreign country, 3,000 miles away from my family. And I don't have my dog guide. I don't have a ton of cane training. I just have the basics. So being put in that vulnerable position was very upsetting to me. So I called my friend in Scotland because that was the closest person to me. And then I called my partner and explained the situation as well. And so I ended up going to Glasgow and staying there. And I had, sorry, let me backtrack. When I was in Edinburgh, so I was able to go to the Edinburgh Castle, and I also did a whiskey tour. And I even had a friend who took her, the one day she had off, she took her motorbike and she took me up to Stirling Castle, and she guided me around there because remember, I had to kind of rework all of my plans, which is difficult because the entire time I had to be very aware of my surroundings. And so the day that I went to Edinburgh Castle, I was so impressed with the way that with the amount of accessibility in the sense compared to being in the US, it was incredible. I mean, you definitely have to let them know in advance so they will have someone, but it was really great because I got to do a lot of things in the castle and see things in the castle that were not open to the general public. And it was an incredible experience. And later that day, I went down to the whiskey tour, and some of the things that I wanted to do, it was when I tried to contact them, sometimes I just had to show up, but everyone was always very willing, basically just telling them, what your needs are, and they'll figure out a plan and they'll do the best of their ability so that you can get the best experience. And that was really incredible to me. And so when I left Edinburgh, I went to Glasgow, and one of the issues that was difficult for me was the fact that some of the apps I could not download, and I thought I would be able to download when I got into the country, but they still would not allow me to do that. So if you're coming from the States to the UK, I recommend purchasing or downloading a VPN. I think that might possibly solve the problem. But so anyway, so my friend in Glasgow, he was booking all of my passenger assistance because I was not able to because I couldn't get the app. And my other friend, the other issue was when I had to figure out things for the 11 days, she had to book stuff for me because I had to use one of my friend's address. So that was another challenging thing. But um, so yeah, there were definitely challenges, and I was challenged every minute of my trip, having to be very, very aware of my surroundings at all times. And because the most important thing was my safety. And if it was not for my friends in Scotland, I probably would have had to go home. I mean, I don't know the area. I don't really have much useful sight. I don't have my dog guide. But because of them, I had an incredible trip. Um, and so when I was in Glasgow, I also visited, I went to Fort Williams, and I also went to Inverness and Glencoe. And the bus driver, you know, he helped me get on and off it was just amazing. And really didn't take that much to just assist, And and I think the biggest thing is just communication, honestly. But um, also being around my friend in Glasgow, he helped me out with my cane skills. He he made sure that he he made sure that the person who picked me up from the train station, the taxis, these people he knew, and he personally called them to make sure that I was safe. And because that was the most important thing, that I was safe. And to go to those lengths, I'll never forget what they did for me. They really saved my butt. And they and even so, after I left that area and I was going to England, uh, I stayed in York for 2 days, which I absolutely love. Um, it was actually quite funny because uh, what we had done to make sure I made it safely, we did the location thing on the iPhone, and he had noticed that I had moved for 6 hours. And the funny thing is the hotel I was staying at, the Premier Inn, it was a brand new one, and it was backed up to an archaeological site. And so he thought I was like, oh my gosh, I hope she's not buried 6 feet under a digging site or something. Um, it was, quite funny. But um, so even though, yes, I went by myself from the States the to the UK, no, I could not have done this on my own. And so when I was in York, I visited I'm trying to think what it's called. It was the York Dungeons I visited, and then there was also an archaeological uh, museum. And I was just really impressed from Scotland and England. And I was told that the UK, they're kind of the first to do this, in the sense to recreate sounds and smells. And I was just really in awe of the accessibility options, because my experience in the States, absolutely not even close. And I have to say, I think I absolutely got so much more out of this trip than any other trip I've been on, due to the fact that I'm losing my sight. So I have to not only pay more attention, but at the same time, they also offer a lot of different ways to experience these tours. And the thing is they really enjoy doing this. And I think just going that extra step, for me personally, is a big deal. So So I did not make it to Liverpool, but I moved on to Manchester. I was only there for a day, and a friend of mine, uh, one of the things was, so I wanted to go visit the Old Trafford, Manchester United. Yes, I'm a Manchester United fan. I've been for quite many years, and so in the sense, what I had in place fell through. I mean, he took a half a day off work and he guided me around um, Old Trafford. We went on the tour. And they have a museum there and everything. And but the funny thing was is that I didn't realize until that afternoon he met me. I found out that he's a Manchester City fan, which was quite funny. um, but it was like, it made me feel like I was like a little kid again, going to, the first football game and just the enjoyment of it. It was just incredible experience. Uh, I don't know about other football stadium tours, but in this one, they lined us up. We got to run through the tunnel, and they let us in the locker room, and we got to even touch all the jerseys and everything, which I was a bit shocked because they would never let you do that in the States for something like that. So I thought that was really cool. And just, I really felt that I got so much more due to the loss of my sight. And then, so I went to the conference, which was really great. I got to meet a lot of new people. I was also a speaker there. And I really enjoyed it because our conference was a bit more rigorous in the sense. Um, but my plan was before I went home, my plan was to do the Harry Potter tour. And like I said, I started contacting people back in February. And a lot of these places, they'll get back to you. And they're like, yeah, you just need to email us and let us know what type of accommodation you need for the tour. So they sent me the form, which is absolutely not accessible. So I sent it to my friend who was doing all the bookings, and she's fully sighted, and she even had difficulty getting it formatted to fill it out. And come to find out, you really need to book 3 months in advance, but that would have been super helpful to let me know back in February. So I ended up going back to York, and she had arranged me to go to the York Castle Museum, which is an actual museum. The castle, I don't think, is really there. It was a bit confusing for me. And I actually had two tour guides on that. And there they preserved a 17th century street that I got to walk on. And it was the same in the sense. There were lots of interactive things with sounds, smells, and all of that. And actually ended up staying back at the same hotel at the Premier Inn. And like one of the things was I had to rely so much on sighted assistance because I was only in these places for a couple of days. So it just didn't make sense for me to try and learn the route, even though it was very simple because they put me on the bottom floor. But just the amount, I still have some sights, but at the same time, it's not very useful. So there just wasn't enough time for me to be able to do that. But I had no problem. I had no problem taking sighted assistance at all. And all of our hotels have phones and fridges in them. And I mean, and so what they did, and if I needed assistance, they gave me a walkie-talkie so I could just radio them and let them know uh, where I was going, if I needed a taxi, uh, if I wanted something, or if they could take me out to the restaurant. I mean, it was literally like the royal red carpet treatment. But so there were so many people that helped me throughout this trip, and that I'm so grateful and appreciative of, and I'll never forget it. And I have to say, I did when I did go back to York. I also went to the chocolate store, which I highly recommend you do. Um, it was really great. But I have to say, one of the best things was of my trip was the very last day I had in New York was the concierge. She would walk me across the street. That's one thing I just could not get my head around because they drive on the other side of the street there. And I'm used to having when cars are coming, crossing in front of me, and my brain just couldn't get it through. So I was like, no, maybe next time I come, this might be something I might tackle. But I used my Meta glasses and my GPS, and I made it from my hotel all the way up to Shambles, which is a street related to Harry Potter, if you're a fan. And then I went all the way up to Shambles because my friend had mentioned that there was a tactile model of York Minster I could go see, and so I wanted to go see that. So the fact that very little, my cane skills really improved after this trip, but it was a wonderful emotional experience that I was able to walk by myself without any assistance, to do that, to be in a foreign country where you've never been to this place before, and getting yourself from point A to point B. To me, that was a huge accomplishment for me. And I realized, if I had more time, it made me understand that I am still capable of these skills. It just takes longer to learn. So it was a very emotional, but in a positive way, experience. However, GPS did land me on the opposite side of the street at the university rather than Northminster. But but um, I think I really surprised myself as well as I was able to use the trains. No, I wasn't booking my passenger assistance. And things like that, just due to challenges of technology and things. But I think things happen the way they did for a reason. And but I'd have to say the very last day of my trip was probably one of the best experiences. And then being in Glasgow, hang out with my friend, I learned a lot in the sense of things that I do because I still have sight. One of them would be leaving a room and not mentioning to the person that you've left the room. And if they're still talking, that was a classic me I did a couple of times. But I also learned things about, one of the things I do a lot is I knock things over, especially glasses, and just spending time with my friends. I learned things like pushing stuff all the way back to the walls, and just the little things like that I mean, I think those were some of the most valuable things that I ever got out of my trip. And I will answer your questions. And I think the last thing I want to say is so all of these things that were helped put in place for me, typically the tours and things I did were supposed to only be like an hour or two. And well, each thing ended up being like 4 hours or so. And I mean, so I was gone from the beginning of the day to like late in the evening. And my friend actually called one of the castles and the whiskey tour um, just to check on me. I'm like, oh, yeah, she's here. She's just hanging out with some people and talking. But it's quite funny. I thought he was going to send a search party out for me. But it was my safety was the most important thing. And without them, like I said, I would have possibly had to cancel my trip and go home. Rachel, are there any
yes.
questions?
So I was just going to say massive thank you to Emily. Thank you, Emily. That was an amazing talk, very inspirational. Just shows you, hey, you know, you're in a foreign country and you're able to get around and do some amazing things. So thank you from everyone on this group for sharing that with us. And we'll open up for questions. So if anyone has any questions, here's your opportunity.
Hello, Rachel.
Yeah, carry on, yeah.
It's Keith. I'd just like to say, every moment of what you were saying, I felt like I was there. You must be so brave. I was panicking, thinking what I would do. So, and I can't believe you've done it. Well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Lovely to meet you.
You too.
Thank you.
Rita's got her hand up.
Yeah, go on, Rita.
There we go.
Yeah, well done for carrying on with the trip and having a good time. I think my question is, would you do it again?
Absolutely. I probably am. Probably next October, because my friend in Scotland, he has this friend he does kind of like these outdoor Highland trips. It's like a 6-day trip.
Yeah.
And he knows him personally, so they would actually be able to adapt it for me. But it's basically like you learn a skill, like learn how to fight with the staff. It's like the old ways of how the people used to live off the land, I believe. I don't know a whole lot about it, but so I hope to do that and would like to try and pair it with the BBS conference. If there's been talk, they might move it later in the year. So, but yeah, there were a lot of things I did not get to do. There just wasn't time. And I think one of the things, instead of like, oh, I have to do this, this, and this, I just kind of let things happen natural. And I was like, if I get to it, I get to it. But yeah, absolutely, I would definitely do it again.
Oh, good. Sounds good.
Scott's got his hand up next.
Hello, Emily. Fellow North American here. I'm a bit further north than you are in Canada, but food question. Did you try haggis?
I did. So actually, there were definitely several things. There was a lot in my trip. So I had vegan haggis. So I've been vegan for about 4, maybe 5 years. Um, I really enjoyed it. I have to say, one of my favorite things is the Scottish cooked breakfasts were, oh my gosh, so amazing.
Fill you up for the day's travels. And how was the whiskey tour? Do you have a favorite whiskey?
Um, no, not really. So I lived in Ireland in 2008 for about 9 months. So I was always a big fan of Jameson whiskey. I can honestly not remember. I got a couple of whiskeys that I really liked at the Edinburgh Castle, which were really good. Um, they were all right. It was really interesting because I did not know there was a proper way to drink whiskey, actually. Um, but you're supposed to choose one of the 4 samples, right? And then you also get the whiskey glass with the tour. Well, afterwards, I ended up I got to taste all 4 or 5 whiskeys. So they all have a different, like, one's like a flower flavor, one's like a more sweeter flavor. So I mean, I think they were all,
Well, there's many different
yeah.
types. So yeah. Oh, good for you.
The
Keep
display
up
of
the work.
whiskey was incredible, though. It
Yeah.
was insane that you go into this room and there's just like wall to wall. It was pretty cool looking.
Oh, good for you. Keep up the travels. I'm on my way back to Canada August 4th. Unfortunately, Mark and the Retina group are kicking me out of the country. So, where are you in the States?
I'm on the East Coast.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just north of New York, the state of New York, so in Ontario. So,
Okay.
yeah, good for you. And I've last 10 years been traveling around with my wife. So, keep it up. Enjoy.
Thank you.
I think Stuart's got his hand up now. Got a question?
Yeah, just to ask Emily about the tours, because the one in the whiskey tour in Scotland, did you go
Yeah,
on a carousel taking you through different sections?
no, so I did look up whiskey tours, and I was thinking, because I have seen some where you just sit in a pub, but some of the other ones, there's a lot of different ones, but this one was actually right at the bottom of Edinburgh Castle, right there. That's the one I went to.
Yeah. In the Scotch Whisky Museum.
Yeah, I believe so.
I did it. I did one there for 10 years or so ago with a Russian friend, and you go in and they sit you in a dodgem car, and then you go around, and as you go around, it tells the story of whiskey and how they made it over the different centuries and right up to the present day.
Mm.
And the reason I asked is because was the tour you did, you were looking for the name of the place you visited, the archaeological place in York? Was that the Jorvik?
Possibly.
Because they do the same thing at the Jorvik. You go in and you sit in a little car, and then you run through. Yeah. And they do an accessible. You have a choice of commentary. One is accessible and one is normal.
Yes. So they had that in the background, but I needed sighted assistance, and the lady, like, everyone I got was just, so she was an actual archaeologist.
Oh wow!
Right, and she even goes to the site and she does digs, and she's actually helped recreated some of the things. So I mean, these people just very, very knowledgeable.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I mean, I have to say, I'm very fortunate because I have a sighted partner, and we travel around the country quite a bit. We've just been to the Lake District with some friends in North Wales, and everywhere you go in the UK, the people that run the sites that you visit are always very accommodating to visually impaired people. So usually we get a concession for the carer. So I pay, and often not full price, and then my carer goes for free.
Yes.
Which is a big help.
Yeah, my friend from Scotland, he had mentioned, because I remember asking him like months, I was like, what is this concession ticket thing? And so he told me, and even looking on the sites, and I understand, see, in the States, we have HIPAA laws, so they're absolutely not allowed to ask you for proof. But I wasn't sure. I mean, I just like, you know what? I'm just going to ask. And the worst thing they can say is, no, we can't do a concession ticket. But I mean, it was obviously that I was visually impaired. But I think maybe it was more for they to have like a letter. And I think that's one thing that I would make sure I would have a letter from my eye doctor just in case. It's better to have it than and not need it than to not have it.
Yeah, I mean, but you said you went to the Chocolate Museum in York?
Yeah, the chocolate story.
Yeah. That's the first place I ever got asked to prove I was a visually impaired person.
Oh.
Because it's quite a big concession to go there for free.
Oh.
But there was no problem. I had, my local site charity has published it. Well, actually, my local authority has given me a card. So you just carry that with you and you show the card.
Right. But if you don't live in the UK, you can't get one of those. But I will say, I will say I did get one or two concession tickets on the train. The guard just said, I'll give you the ticket for the rail card price. I mean, I didn't ask. They obviously knew that I was traveling on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that I was.
But for the train assistance, there's actually a phone number you can call as well. So you don't have to use the app. You just ring the number and you can book the assistance that way.
Okay, well that's good to know.
Yeah. Good. Thanks, Stuart. I think Ben's got his hand up now.
Hi, yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I could my AirPods just died on me, so I've had to revert to without the AirPods. So that's good. Yeah, thanks, Emily. It's really, really interesting and very, very brave. But yeah, it just you mentioned about the Edinburgh Castle tour. How helpful the staff were. I went there. I think it was 2012. And that's something I always remember. How helpful they were, and it was one of the staff. They wanted me to sort of handle this. This sword and all this, and I was like, so I was a bit worried about that. Actually, it's not sharp. It's not sharp, but yeah, that they were absolutely brilliant. I actually wrote to them. Or sent them a message, afterwards, thanking them, for how great the tour were and everything. So yeah, I can definitely definitely recommend that. But yeah, actually, you mentioned about Liverpool. I actually work in Liverpool.
Okay.
So definitely recommend if you ever come back to if you get to visit. Be more than welcome, I think. But yeah, I actually live over on the other side of the Mersey, the River Mersey. So yeah, I lived here for about how many years now? About 20 years nearly. Yeah. So, but yeah, my actual question was, I was trying to think of a question about your experience with the assistants at when you arrived at in the airport.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that. So Um, when I was going to the UK and as well as coming back from the UK, both times there were strikes going on, and I was just like, oh my, I was like, wow, I was like, oh, I was just, please do not let me miss my flight. But the thing is that a friend of mine, his mom worked for American Airlines, and she worked my flight. She, about a month or so after I booked, she's like, well, send me your flight itinerary. Which was really nice because it's kind of like having my own personal flight attendant. You know, she checked on me and she personally attended to me, even though I wasn't in her section. So that was super helpful. But especially on the way back, I was concerned that I wasn't gonna get to the gate in time because I got off the what's the thing called that kind of it'll take you from underneath, like where the airport terminal is, to the trains or whatever. When I got off that, I had to wait on these benches, so I hadn't even checked in for my flight or anything, and I was just like, so I was getting a bit worried, but it all worked out in the sense. But apparently that's a common thing that happens in Heathrow, are these strikes for the assistant workers. But not really many problems transportation wise.
Great, brilliant. Thanks, Emily.
Excellent. Just to let you know, it's 5 to 8, but we've got Tina has got.
I've got extra time. I don't have anywhere to be, Richard. So if people have other questions, I don't mind sticking around a little bit longer.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
That's cool. Thanks, Emily.
Yeah, we've got
no
Ian's got a question.
Yeah, carry on.
Hi, Emily. Thank you very much for sharing your experience so candidly. I think it was very useful to hear how your travel plans didn't go to plan, but you still managed to make a very good trip of it. I really admire you for that. My question is, because I've always thought about solo travel as a VIP. I've just never had the courage to take that step. So having done it, what would be your top 3, let's say, tips for solo VI travel?
Top 3 tips. So, I mean, the thing that really helped me was that I knew a couple people, right? Because I don't know if I would have honestly continued without them. But I think one of the things is having backup plans, really, in the sense. So, for example, absolutely, I plan on having my dog guide with me, right? But learning about the process, especially when you do it for the first time, it's overwhelming, and it's a lot of information you have to, and it's very time constraining. So I think having as many contingency plans, that's why 7 months before I was leaving, I started using my cane a lot more. I tried to get as many orientation mobility instruction lessons, even though I knew like the basics, but don't really use a cane that much. So I think that's one of the things. And try and plan as much, because there was actually a day or two I didn't really have anything planned because I was trying to put things in place, and for me it was challenging and I was exhausted. So I did sleep really well, but when you are traveling and having to take that extra time to put things in place, it's very it's just a lot of energy and things like that. So I would say definitely the earlier you can book things, the better. Not necessarily three, but I think just I did a lot of research. I looked into apps. I even looked up, because if I was going to take my dog guide, I looked up like what the laws were in the sense, because I think that's one of the most important things. Because when you enter into a country, you are abiding by their laws because you're on their soil. So, in a sense, for protection and safety was the number one concern the entire trip. And because of my friends, I was fortunate. I mean, he personally called people that he knew for taxis and some of the assistance people, because he used the trains in that area as well. So I think making sure, doing what you need to do to keep yourself safe. And just the other thing with I would definitely say is it definitely took several weeks before I heard back from some of these places for things I knew I wanted to do. So definitely do that in advance, because they need to have someone in place to be there on that day. So I think that would
And Emily, it's Scott. You mentioned a VPN. I agree with you totally. I did not have one going into China once, and I did not have any English the whole week that I was there. So thankfully, there were people that spoke English, but anyone that's traveling, a VPN is a must. Some countries, it's not going to be a problem, but others, you want access to a language that you can speak on your phone. So, and get a good one. Don't just, there's a lot of them out there, but a lot of them won't work that well either.
What is a VPN?
okay.
Do you want to answer that, Emily, or
I'm not a technical person. I was just I was told
it's
that
a
by one of my
virtual,
tech friends.
it basically, it's a virtual, it makes you be in the country that you are. It's a virtual, I always forget the P, service. Private, is it virtual private, sir? No,
Virtual proxy.
Virtual proxy network.
Yeah, proxy network. So I'm a Canadian, but if I want to listen to Canadian, it basically puts me back in my own country, or I can switch it to the British. My phone basically works where I want it to work. If I'm in Poland, I can switch it to a Polish VPN, Canadian, US, British, Italian. It just allows you to work your computer no matter where you are. China is a big deal because you have to have it going in. Once you get into the country, your phone is shut down, dead. If you don't have a VPN or a DPN, which is a bit stronger, you're not going to be able to surf the web. You're not going to be able to get emails. You're not going to have very much access at all. I was lucky enough to be with my wife, and she's sighted, and we found people that most countries have people that speak English, but it's just searching. Emily was looking for whiskey tours and stuff. It just makes it easy to search those whiskey tours and understand what you're looking at and where they might be and get phone numbers.
Well,
So,
I'll tell you, I didn't have a problem because I almost went before my friend actually mentioned, it's like, go check with your service provider for your phone. I was like,
yeah.
because I just planned on being Wi-Fi. Well, so I would put, when I was out of Wi-Fi range, I put my cellular data on, but I only had 20 gigs, so I had to be, careful with it. But anywhere I went, I just jumped on the Wi-Fi networks, and
yeah, which is good. But like I said, if you go to a country like China,
right.
Your Wi-Fi is going to, unless you read Mandarin or Cantonese, and I don't.
Yeah.
You can get it on the Wi-Fi, no problem. Just you won't be able to read what's on your phone or laptop. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a question, Emily, Rachel. I know you went to Scotland and you did York. I know you didn't get to much of Manchester or Liverpool, which me and
That's
Richard
Old
said.
Trafford, so
yeah. Well,
that's what
as
I
me and
wanted.
Richard said to you, when you next come over, we'll show you some of the good highlights and we'll take you to Man City's stadium and get you on the tour. But my question is, where else in the UK would you like to visit? Have you got any highlights on your list that you want to see?
Well, so I did want to. There just wasn't time to do Liverpool, but I'm a massive Beatles fan, and that's why I wanted to go there. I don't know. I mean, I lived in Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland, for about 9 months, so I've been there. I really, I don't really know what's in Wales. But I'm really fascinated by history, and I've always kind of gravitated towards. I love like listening to stories from the past, history, but also kind of like how things worked, in any type of period. It's always kind of fascinated me of how did this come to do this, whether it's a machine or, anything. I'm really fascinated with.
So like in Wales, there's in Brecon, they've got a thing where you can go down a coal mine and experience what it would be like for people to mine for coal. And then in another part of Wales called Blarney Festiniog, which is North Mid Wales, they take it down a slate mine and they show how they mine for slate.
Really? Yes. Yeah, I would love doing. There's actually my friend, she's going, I can't remember where it was, but I think it's further north than Inverness in Scotland, but there was this it was like this underground water, I think, tunnel thing. And I think she's going with her family up there to do that. But
I can see Emily being shot through because
zip wheels.
Yeah, Emily's told she likes hiking and she likes the outdoors. So I would say you would love the is it the Blind Festiniog, where you get shot through the caves on the zip wire.
Oh yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
and then in Bethesda they've got Zip World, which is like a 600 high like zip wire, but you're lying flat as if you're flying through the air.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I have a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. That's why I was really excited when my friend was going to bring a motorbike. I was like, yes, because it's been several years since I've been on a motorcycle, but it's one of the most exhilarating things I've done.
I've just got one question, just a follow-up from Rachel's, actually. It's Mark. Would this trip to the UK give you confidence and encouragement and inspiration to travel around Europe, perhaps, or any other countries, especially if there is a language barrier? Yeah.
So the only experience I have with when I visit Florida, particularly in Miami, because I tend to go down there near that area, and it is very difficult. It's very frustrating, that language barrier. But I mean, I'm one of these people that, okay, there's always challenges, right? So I'm more in trying to find a solution to this problem of how I can get around this. Because I can tell you, one of the countries I would really like to go to is Belgium, because I'm a Belgian beer girl, and I'd really like to go. That's one of the places I would really like to go and visit.
I recommend it.
And I did take French, and actually I did really well in French. I could not do Spanish, so it seemed I picked French up easier. So I mean, absolutely, I could brush up on that. Plus, we have these translation apps that can translate things for us. So I think, that's why I was saying, planning as much as possible in advance, even months, just start learning at least common phrases, and
Emily, you'll have no problem in Belgium. English is spoke. I just got back from Brussels and Bruges.
Okay.
You have to go to Delirium, over 3,000 different types of beer. Good luck to you if you taste all 3,000.
It's not really a goal in life I want to achieve.
No. Yeah. But there is some great beer there, though.
It's great chocolate.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I was great chocolate.
Yeah,
great
did you have that? Yeah,
I'm not a beer drinker. I eat the chocolate. That's more me.
Yeah, if I would have known how good the chocolate covered espresso beans, I would have totally gotten like several bags of those to bring home.
You can get them in North America. You should be able to get them.
Yeah, but it's not the same. It's not the same. I mean,
yeah. Well, if you do get to Brussels, try the sweet waffle liqueur.
Oh. You're making me hungry.
Yeah. Well, you can get the from Amsterdam on Amazon. What's the little round cookies? Oh, I'm gonna forget the name of it.
Biscuits.
Yeah, they're stroopwafel. Yeah. So if you go on Amazon here, you can get the stroopwafel liqueur.
Interesting.
For about 15 pounds.
Oh wow. So we're nearly at 8:15. So does anyone else have any other questions? Anyone that's not said anything that wants to say anything? Shout up.
I'll ask one more question if that's okay. It's Hina.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go for it.
I just wanted to know how you got along with things like menus in restaurants when you were over here. I personally struggle a little bit because I'm a vegetarian, and that's always like a little bit tricky when traveling. So I was just wondering how you got on and how you kind of navigated that. I know you said you had your meta glasses.
So Yeah, well, so one of the things is you really need Wi-Fi for those. But honestly, I mean, I haven't read a menu in years, and I just, it's just go up and have a conversation with them, really, in a sense. To me, my experience in the UK is that it seems that people are definitely a lot more aware in the sense in the States. And I don't know if it's because the way our country and the way our country is geared towards people, I think they're afraid to help us because they're afraid they might say the wrong thing and offend us, and or they've just not ever had that experience and they don't know what to say, and it's but just and my friend in Scotland, he helped me with this too, because losing my sight, I've always identified as a sighted person, and I lived in the sighted world, and letting go of that, I've only really just begun last year taking steps in the sense, if I don't have my dog with me, I always have my cane and I always use it, as well as I'm comfortable now. And my friend helped me with this too when we were talking with trying to figure out what I could do and all of that. He's like, look, my friend's visiting here from the States. She's blind. Well, it just, I mean, just that. It's just communication and having a conversation. But pretty much I'll just, go in and it's like, no, I can't see the menu, or it's like or I'll go in and I'm like, no, I'm blind. Can you tell me what's on the menu, or what would you recommend? Now, I will tell you, didn't find out till the last day, but the Premier Inn, they actually have a Braille menu if you can read Braille. But they're happy to help you. And if you need, like, I still had some sight, but the first day I got to the table by myself, but mainly what I tell them is, do you mind helping me? I need some assistance to get to the table.
Yeah.
And so pretty, I mean, but I've been where you are, and I've struggled, and I don't know what to say because I tend to come across brash or a bit, and it's not. It's just I have to work on subtlety. It's and I try to do that, but just having conversations with other people who have had these experiences, or like I said, my friend in Scotland, he's already been through all of these things I'm going, so he's immensely helpful in that sense. I think just having conversations.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Would you say, Emily, it's Rachel, would you say you've learned anything about yourself while you've been on, being in the UK?
Yeah, I think, I tend to do this and I don't realize until it's too late, but sometimes I'm kind of like, oh crap, what have I gotten myself into, at times. But I think I really surprised myself, and just in the sense of that, even though, yeah, I was terrified not having my dog, and my cane skills, but my cane skills have improved immensely, and I could tell that I I did accomplish this, and that I am if I had more time, absolutely. I don't think I would have had to rely as much on taxis or sighted assistance, but if I were to stay in these areas, and And to me, that's a huge deal, because the simple things that I'm used to doing are becoming difficult as time goes on. And I think acceptance is hard for me in that sense, realizing, yeah, it is challenging and it takes longer for me to do things. But I think one of the most important things I learned from my friend is that you have to slow down. And that's very difficult for me to do. And, but just slow down. I think that's one of the most important things I learned. And that with time and more experience, just like if I was at home, it proved to me that I am capable. And that's an important lesson I will need to know going into the next leg of my journey of my life, in the sense that I can still do these things. However, it's going to take more time, more concentration, just more familiarity. And I think the other thing is that, like I said before, I think that one of the things I was concerned with is traveling and doing things in the sense that didn't rely heavily on your vision, because I used to go to museums but they were based visually, right? And I was concerned that I wasn't sure what type of experience I would have, because there is a lot of things that are geared toward that. But I definitely learned that I got so much more. Everything I did, I got 10 times the amount of information without having vision part of it. And that really surprised me, because I was really concerned about that. All my other trips in the States, they're familiar to me. And I don't think, even if I were to go travel in the States, I mean, in the sense, it's still familiar to you, right? I mean, it's a different part of the country, but you still drive on the same side of the road. I mean, yes, things are different, but I don't think I would have learned of how much useful vision or loss of vision I would have had until I had to completely remove myself, even from my country, to realize that. And yes, my family, yeah, and they were concerned, but to help with that, I told them, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing. I set up a WhatsApp group for my family members, so I just send a message to do that. But I think that was also one of the things that was very important to learn and to accept it. So, not gonna lie, it was challenging, and I got homesick. And actually, one of the things I did not mention is that my friend, he had called me up and said he just spoke to his mom, and one of his mom's friends lives in the area, and she took me and we walked around the area. And I think she's lived there most of her life. And, I told her I was really, really homesick, and I really just want to go home. Because I was just so exhausted. But one of the things she said to me was that she says, continue your trip, because you might miss out on some really incredible experiences. And she was absolutely right. Especially the story I told you about my last day. I hadn't planned on that happening, but that was immensely incredible. I was, so proud of myself. And I don't think as human beings, give ourselves credit and remind ourselves to be kind for things that we do. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of important. We're more critical on ourselves. Like, we could do this better, right? But so yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Rachel.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Thank you. So I know time's getting on. So I'd just like to say once again, thank you, Emily. Thank you for sharing and being so open and explaining your journey. So thank you from everybody on this call.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Just a quick bit of information for everybody. The Retina UK annual conference is taking place on the 20th of September, Saturday, 20th of September. It's in person in London, but if you can't attend in person, you will be able to stream it. So you can register through the Retina UK website. In the afternoon, there will be a session around travel and mobility. And a certain two people will be on that session, i.e. me and Rich. So yeah, you know, please register whether you can come in person or whether you can come online. The conference is an amazing opportunity to learn all stuff about inherited retinal dystrophies from specific doctors, and people also giving their personal and, you know, opening up. And if you're there in person, there will be opportunities to connect and socialize and chat to others living with sight loss. So yeah, that's just a little bit of information about the conference. Like I say, you can find out more about the conference, more about all the different talking groups that we run with Retina UK, and also all the different peer support groups that run, all the different support that's available through the helpline and talking support. And yeah, that's just a little snippet. But if you visit retinauk.org.uk, you'll be able to get all the information on their website. Don't think there's anything you want to add, Mark?
If anyone does have any other questions or queries, you can call our helpline as well on 0300 111 4000, or you can contact us through our email address, which is info@retinauk.org.uk if you've got any further questions. Thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Richard.
Yeah. Pass to you, Richard. You got anything else to say?
No, just to say thank you everyone for attending. Thank you to Emily for a very inspirational and interesting talk about your trips and your personal story as well. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the evening. And thank you once again to everyone for coming.
Thanks, everyone. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Emily.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 We hope you've enjoyed this Retina UK peer group recording. If you have any questions or queries regarding its content, or you would like to leave us some feedback, then please do get in touch. You can contact us via our helpline on 0300 111 4000, call the office team on 01280 821 334, or alternatively, you can contact us via email at services@retinauk.org.uk. If you are interested in creating your own peer support group and assisting Retina UK to grow our peer support group network and join our amazing team of volunteers, then please do get in touch by contacting us at info@retinauk.org.uk and speak to a member of staff to see how you can get involved. Thanks again for listening, and please stay tuned for more peer support group recordings coming throughout this year. Take care and all the best. Bye for now.